he rescued a brave Apache woman in the untamed sands of Arizona. Yet her people have now proclaimed him her holy spouse. Can this rancher accept a connection deeper than any peril he's encountered? See their grand frontier adventure come alive, and remember to sign up for more exciting tales of romance on the edge. Shall we begin? The Arizona heat scorched without mercy across the wasteland, transforming the jagged ground into a wavering sea of warmth. Cole, a solitary rancher with a worn hat and grimy boots, pressed on through the empty expanse, his gaze sweeping the skyline for any stir. The breeze brought murmurs from bygone days, soft remnants of thieves and herd thieves he'd pursued in the past. But this day, something felt off. A piercing wail cut through the parched atmosphere. It was desperate, frightened, alive. His senses, sharpened by countless hours of lone pursuit, warned him this was no common noise. Urging his mount ahead, Cole surged with urgency and intent, kicking up a trail of grit that trailed him like a specter from his path, every sinew tensed for the clash. As he closed in on the source of the screams, Cole glimpsed a band of rough bandits encircling a young lady. She was restrained, her wrists lashed firmly behind her, her gown ripped from the fight. The ruffians chuckled cruelly, their tones grating against the hushed dunes. Cole's heartbeat raced. He swung down from his saddle, drawing his pistol from its sheath with fluid grace. His fame as a marksman was justly gained, but he understood that talent by itself wouldn't ensure her well-being. He needed to strike boldly before the thugs could injure her more. He crept forward without a sound, each footfall deliberate, the hide of his boots grinding on the baked earth. The young lady's eyes locked with his, wide with dread, yet holding a spark of optimism. Cole perceived the fortitude under her alarm, a subtle power that assured him she wouldn't shatter readily, even in such hazard. Her raven locks, matted and gritty, outlined her features, and the resolve in her stare held him fast. The bandits hadn't spotted him still, and Cole grasped the chance. In a quick, seamless arc, he shot, his shot true, and the closest rogue staggered away, gripping his arm. Turmoil broke loose as Cole advanced with agility and valor, his pistol a streak in his grasp. The rest paused, unsure, then fled into the boundless waste, abandoning the young lady untouched. Cole hurried over, dropping to one knee beside her. "You're okay now, you're secure," he murmured, his tone firm even as the jolt of excitement surged within. The young lady, trembling, attempted to reply, but merely a breath slipped out. He softly loosened her bindings, mindful not to worsen her existing ache. "I'm Cole, and you?" he inquired, giving her a comforting grin. She fluttered her lashes, gulping down emotion, and at last uttered, "Ayanna." Her tone was gentle, but held a rhythm that echoed even amid the stark desert gusts. Cole inclined his head, accepting the name, sensing that their brief clash would signal something beyond their grasp just yet. Aiding her upright, Cole scanned the desolate vista. The wasteland extended without end in all directions, blending peril and allure. Every hill and gulch might conceal foes, but for now, the pressing threat had faded. He led Ayanna with care, an arm steadying her as they distanced themselves from the site of strife. Each stride echoed the thin divide between existence and demise in these unforgiving realms. The sun sank lower, throwing elongated shadows that flickered over the rugged landscape, and Cole sensed the burden of duty settling on him. This went beyond mere deliverance. It was the dawn of a tie hammered in crisis. As they trekked, Ayanna's look lingered on Cole, brimming with wonder and wary faith. She had braved endless trials, yet none had ever hazarded their own safety for hers so purely. Cole, noticing her, sensed a link without reason. He'd roamed for years in isolation, steered solely by frontier justice and endurance's creed. But here, something awakened inside, a drive surpassing the gritty paths and taverns. The desert gust bore the subtle aroma of sage, and Cole felt as though the earth itself noted the importance of their crossing. By the hour they arrived at a sheltered gorge, Cole had eased his stride, letting Ayanna restore her vigor. He passed her his flask, observing as she sipped with muted thanks. She at last voiced her thoughts. I can't find words to repay you," she whispered, her gaze dipping from his, maybe from wariness or doubt. Cole shook his head. "None required. You're breathing. That's reward enough for me." His phrase was plain, but the honesty in his voice rang clear. It was a tenet he'd upheld all his days. Act justly, even unseen by others. The desert light had now commenced its fall, brushing the heavens in vivid tones of amber and saffron. Cole knew lingering wasn't wise. Dusk in the wastes summoned fresh hazards. "We must seek cover," he stated, eyeing the distance. Ayanna agreed, relying on him fully, her confidence in this outsider swelling with each instant. As they traversed the stony ground, Cole pondered the odd bends of destiny that brought him thus. Rescuing a soul in the frontier was seldom so simple as it appeared. At times, one bold deed could echo through days, seasons, even lifetimes, reshaping fates. Hours on, they found a narrow, concealed gully that shielded from the exposed flats. Cole assisted Ayanna to rest, draping his jacket over her against the evening chill that seeped in. He stood vigil, sight keen, probing the edge for any peril. Ayanna stayed hushed, but he felt her appreciation in every motion, every look. The link between them, tender yet firm, was sealed not through speech, but by joint endurance. In the wasteland's quiet, they discovered a wordless accord. Their paths, so distinct, were now woven as one. Cole at last permitted a full breath. The thrill of the save had ebbed, yielding a serene clarity. This young Apache lady, whom he'd pulled from sure doom, stood for more than a task fulfilled. She challenged the aloneness he'd claimed for so long. As the desert constellations started to glim, twinkling against the deepening blue vault, Cole grasped at his axe this day held ripples past the now. Ayanna's existence was preserved indeed, but their paths would resound in manners yet unforeseen. Providence had stepped in most surprisingly. In the hush of that wasteland evening, Cole and Ayanna partook of a modest repast, the flame's glow playing over their countenances. Talk was brief but at ease, a tacit nod to the day's trials. Cole attended as Ayanna recounted her settlement, her kin, and the trials they endured in a realm steadily invaded by strangers. Her tale sketched a lively scene of endurance and legacy, and Cole felt profound esteem for her roots. The wasteland, stern and relentless, seemed to mellow at its borders as they uncovered fellowship amid doubt. By first light, a shared insight had taken root. Cole would escort Ayanna home to her camp, safeguarding her until she lay out of harm's grasp. Each pace along the uneven trail bolstered the tie born in the blaze of mortal risk. The wasteland, still and vast, bore silent testimony to their trek. Cole knew that whatever awaited, this day, this deliverance, would signal a pivot. Sparing Ayanna's life wasn't solely valor, it was the outset of a narrative neither could have foreseen. A narrative weaving courage, integrity, and maybe the first hints of affection poised to flourish in the raw core of the frontier. Cole cantered alongside Ayanna as the immense Arizona vista unfurled boundlessly ahead. The sun dangled near the rim, hurling drawn-out forms over the plateaus and sheer bluffs, tinting the sands in an aureate glow. Every advance toward her camp brimmed with strain. The wise ones had yet to behold him, and Cole bore the press of scrutiny on his frame. Though he'd preserved her breath, he grasped that acts by themselves fell short in a heritage steeped in rite. Ayanna journeyed with serene fortitude at his side, her poised demeanor a cue of his stake's worth. Now and then she turned to him with a soft, affirming curve of the lips, affirming that the faith, tempered in threat, was genuine and lasting. As they neared the camp's fringe, the breeze seemed to shift, humming with expectancy. Dwellers halted their labors, eyeing the rancher and the young woman with inquisitive, guarded stares. Young ones murmured eagerly to their guardians, while the seniors traded wordless looks, gauging Cole's aims. Tales of his daring had arrived first, yet mere tales couldn't claim esteem here. The folk had thrived across eras on tenets of dignity and hallowed ways. Cole felt he was entering a realm far more layered than the wide meadows he claimed, a domain where each deed and phrase bore import past his ken. The camp's wise ones stepped forth to greet, their faces blending vigilance and interest. They regarded Cole mutely, appraising the soul who'd braved rogues to spare Ayanna. The daylight glinted from their ornaments and ritual trinkets, granting them a mantle of command and gravity. Cole alighted, inclining modestly in deference, and reached a palm to Ayanna. She laid her delicate fingers in his, a mark of reliance, and side by side they confronted the assembly. The strain hung heavy, yet the ether also cradled awe. Cole sensed that this day he'd not merely shield a breath. He'd face legacies demanding insight, modesty, and resolve. A low hum rippled through the throng as the wise ones conferred, their sights pinned on Cole and Ayanna. The Apache ways stood firm. The one who'd hazarded all to shield a clansman might be summoned to a hallowed charge. Cole's pulse thrummed, senses honing with each tick. Though the seniors' phrases were weighted and ceremonial, their purpose shone plain. This transcended thanks. It was a summons to an obligation stretching well past the fray. Cole had arrived to aid, but the clan now bid him join a tie surpassing all he grasped on the open ranges. At length, the foremost elder intoned, his timbre rich and echoing. He proclaimed that Cole, through preserving Ayanna, had won the clan's esteem and was thus selected as her hallowed spouse. Silence draped the camp. Cole brimmed with a blend of esteem, dignity, and bewilderment. He'd never pursued such a place, nor dreamed of being linked by rights beyond his reach. Yet gazing at Ayanna, he beheld reliance and thanks, and a serene power that touched him keenly. It exceeded acclaim. It was a welcome to kin, to lore, to a link that would reshape his days eternally. Ayanna's gaze held his, and in that look, Cole divined her consent. She'd weathered dread, toil, and bonds, yet she shone with endurance and poise. The hallowed spouse mantle, though alien to him, stood for safeguard, fidelity, and steadfast pledge to her peace. Cole fathomed that his part now fused with her days, that he'd ward her not just from outer foes, but cherish the faith her folk had bestowed. The heft of this charge pressed, yet it kindled a resolve profounder than any from years adrift on the savage ranges alone. The dwellers gradually returned to their pursuits, their eyes yet drifting to Cole. He'd stepped into a fresh realm, one where deeds outshone phrases, and valor marked merely the start. In the days that followed, Cole watched and absorbed the camp's cadence, the daily flows, rites, and the modes in which the folk nurtured one another. He beheld Ayanna's place amid her kin and folk, her tender leading and the regard she held from both seniors and young. It grew plain that this tie was no sole legacy, but a weave of common principles and reciprocal grasp. Cole passed hours with Ayanna, aiding her and her kin in routine labors, while also shielding the camp from lurking risks. He settled into a span of order and watchfulness, grasping the nuances of Apache rites and gaining faith through acts over discourse. In exchange, Ayanna imparted lore of her forebears, the sagacity of the soil, and the essence of their observances. Cole's regard swelled daily. The lady he'd freed had emerged his mentor, imparting forbearance, modesty, and the might rooted in fellowship. What sparked as a swift deliverance now flowered into a profound and lasting esteem that drew them closer than he'd envisioned.
As daylight crested the sands, spilling its initial gentle beam over the camp, Cole mused on the shift in his existence. He'd ventured to the frontier as a lone wanderer, drifting the meadows with scarce beyond his steed and sidearm. Now he held anchors, duties, and a tie that defied the isolation he'd long borne. Each dawn with Ayanna affirmed the hallowed essence of his station. Beneath the spouse's name lay a pledge, an oath of allegiance, safeguard, and the quiet accord that their courses were eternally laced. The tide twixt Cole and Ayanna unfolded organically, molded by shared esteem, resolve, and joint trials. Each exchange, each motion fortified their weave. Cole came to value the grace in Apache legacies, the profound link to the earth, and the subtle threads binding fellowship, kin, and dignity. Ayanna likewise cherished Cole's daring, modesty, and unyielding spirit. The hurdles they met as one, from outer perils to rights calls, merely deepened their accord. It shone evident that this alliance, rooted in hazard, had matured into something vast, spanning realms once deemed unbridgeable. As seasons yielded to spans, Cole and Ayanna attuned to their joint days in the camp. The hallowed spouse and consort bond ceased as mere label, becoming a vital, pulsing truth. Cole joined in rites, feasts, and charges, absorbing the revered ways while holding his core self. The sands, erstwhile emblem of seclusion, had turned haven, kinship, and affection. In every shared look, in every common instant, the base of reliance and ardor grew firm, assuring that neither isolation nor peril could sunder the weave kindled that day amid the dunes. Beneath the boundless Arizona canopy, the rancher and the Apache woman welcomed a path neither foresaw. Their tale, sprung from risk and dignity, now bloomed as proof of resolve, fidelity, and love's lasting force in the raw West. Cole had crossed into the camp as outsider, guardian, and through fate's mercy and right, he'd woven into the fabric of a fellowship and span, vowing more than he'd ever dreamed. The tie he held with Ayanna was hallowed, indissoluble, eternal, fated to linger as the sand's gust sighed over the plateaus and ravines.